times at the art world in college. My junior year in college, I took my first painting class, and I did that for a little bit, and then I stopped actually painting for a long time. I got here 2010, and then so right around that time is when I started doing a couple of different murals. When I first moved here, that's when I got a job at Myers Park High School, and I ran into my girlfriend. Actually, was a manager at World of Beer. Used to be. Now it's like Dunkel's and something. So she was talking to her GM at the time, and he actually wanted some murals done. So she was like, "Oh, I know someone who can do it." And I'm like, I haven't been on a ladder, nor have I painted with acrylics, but she, was convinced that I would do it, and so sure enough, that's how I started. So I did like the pink elephant and a couple other things that were in there. So that was like my first ones I've done, well, I think ever. So and that's kind of like how it started, because I did that one. They asked me to do another one, and I did it for like some gift cards, just to do it, And plus, with my girlfriend working there, I was like, all right, I'll help out. And then All American Pub contacted me, and then that's how I started doing a couple more. And then after that is actually how I did the first USA map. Rob Duckworth, he came into World of Beer and saw the couple different murals I did. And actually, which is funny, when I first moved here, I worked at Duckworth's. So that was like my first job during the summertime while I was waiting to get back into teaching. So obviously he knew me, and so when he came in, he was like, "Hey, what do you think about doing? We're thinking about a map and having all the different breweries on it." And his idea was, I think, more like the words, like, "Hey, location," like a map location. And I took it differently in my mind, and so I said, I think I got an idea for you, and I put this huge idea together for him, and he's like, "All right, that works." And so that's how that one started. So
and your first one was a full map of the U.S.
Full map of the U.S. It was 3 sheets of plywood, 12 feet by 7 feet long, and I didn't know what the hell I was getting myself into, because I was like, "Oh yeah, here's a good idea. This is what I'm going to do." And then once I got into it, it was more than I thought. I mean, he opened up another place by the time I finished it. So.
Where is that one? Is that one still located?
That's in Huntersville.
It's in Huntersville. Okay.
Yeah, that one's in Huntersville. I think it was meant for maybe the Ballantyne location, and then it took me so long to do it because then I got back into school. Mm-hmm. Once I was doing that, but I also did a couple other different paintings. I did the stone gargoyles on Park Road, and then I did one for Morrisville. Mm-hmm. So I did 2 of those, and then I was still working on that, so that just took me a while. I think the research, like kind of going through and picking up some of the breweries, I didn't actually, try to load it up like we're doing with the North Carolinas, all that kind of stuff. It was more just for the visual. I was trying to make it just visually appealing, and kind of focus on the North Carolina, and I'm from New York, and a couple of those areas. So, but by the time I got it done, finally is when he was just getting ready to open up his new store, and that's where it's up. So that's why that's up there.
And I'm guessing once people saw that initial one, he must have had you do more. And
yeah. So I did another small one for Park Road, and then someone asked me to do a North Carolina one. I think I did one for Roasting Company and maybe another one somewhere along the lines. And I think in my mind I was like, man, I couldn't handle painting another one of those USAs because that took a long time. So that's where, I thought about it, and I was like, well, if I take a picture of it, how simple is that? Take a picture of it, make prints of it, and it was a lot harder than it looked, because, the angle of where that was, trying to take pictures of it, had to be broken up into sections and then piece that together, and that took a longer period of time as well. But finally, when it came together, that's kind of how my buddies kind of are partnered up with me, and how we got what we got. But I can't remember. I remember I did a small little painting actually on canvas for Mac's Speed Shop. Mm-hmm.
And actually, I went. You've got 2 over at the Mac's Speed Shop off of South Tryon.
Yeah.
One's in black and white, I think.
No, there's the one that's colored on canvas and that's hanging up, and then they have, I think, an aluminum.
That's what it is.
That's what it is. They have aluminum. Piecing it together was fun. I think it's a lot more, and researching and learning about the breweries is really neat too. And, but then when I did that first print, is when my buddy was like, he saw me, he's like, man, you know, that's awesome. He's like, I want one. He's like, I want the biggest one you got. And so him, Tommy and AJ, both are who I'm in business with, and we work real well together. We did just USA's for a year, just USA. So we would go to the beer festivals and we would just have that USA print. And so then we did a cutout. AJ does the cutouts on wood. He's getting really good at it too now. I mean, to the point where it's like the states are spot on. But we did in New York for a bar up in my hometown. He came home with me, and that's how the cutting out of wood like that happened. And you know, the guy at the bar, it's basically like 2 blocks down the street from where my house is. You know, and so we talked to him about it, and then AJ was like, "Hey, I cut out of wood." So we did an actual hand painting on wood on New York. So we did one of those, and then so we started making a few prints of those. And then North Carolina was like, man, we live in North Carolina. We need to do in North Carolina. So cut out on wood, and I kind of pieced it together. And actually, Duckworth in Uptown has a really, really big one, and that's kind of how North Carolina came about, actually, because it was like, well, this is I'd love to have North Carolina, and different breweries that he has, and he actually has a unique one because it was original to what he wanted, and so they have like, I pieced it together before this one came together. That's how that part. So I did a whole North Carolina and worked with Duckworth on kind of different breweries that he wanted in there. So then he also has like the USA up there as well. So then I sat down, I kind of looked at the map and, made a few adjustments to get to this one. And that's how that one came about. And we had no idea how this was going to go. Because it was more, we did the USA's and we didn't know how well people would respond to the North Carolina cutout. So from that point on, people seemed to really, really love it, So I think that's when we went from there to South Carolina. Then we were going to do Virginia, but there was a show that somehow along the emails, and it's hard sometimes to get into some of the festivals, or not knowing which ones to get into. You just kind of take a shot in the dark. And so we planned on doing Virginia, and since we didn't get into the festival that we wanted to get into, we were like, we need to figure something else out, so we did Georgia. That's why we did Georgia next. But we're trying to stick in the area because all 3 of us have full-time jobs, so it's like you can't, drive up to Ohio or Michigan, so we're sticking around the area until like the website gets going, and hopefully it'll be a little bit different.